There's a reason Neville stopped teaching the 7-day experiment in public. Not because it didn't work, because it worked too well, and the students who completed it, they stopped coming back, stopped seeking, stopped asking questions. One of them told Neville years later, "I don't know if you saved me or ruined me, but I can't go back to who I was." And Neville just nodded, like he'd heard that before. Like he knew that's what happens when you actually do it. All 7 days, before sleep, without breaking. Here's what you're going to learn tonight. The exact 7-day experiment Abdullah taught Neville in 1933. The one Neville practiced obsessively for 2 years before he taught it publicly, and then stopped teaching after 1968. We're going to break down each day. What to do, what happens, what most people get wrong on day 3, and why day 7 is not the end. It's the beginning of something else, something Neville called the crossing. And crossing is not what you think. It's not enlightenment. It's not manifestation. It's something harder, something most people refuse to do, even when they can. Thing is, this wasn't kept secret deliberately. It's in Neville's lectures. It's in his books, right there. But it's buried under technique, under metaphor, under biblical interpretation, and most people read it as symbolic, as poetic, as motivation, but it's not. It's literal instruction, step by step, 7 days before sleep. And if you do it exactly as described, something shifts, not in your reality, in you. And when you shift, reality has no choice but to reflect it. That's not mysticism. That's how it works. And Abdullah knew that, and he showed Neville. And Neville showed thousands. But only a few actually did it, completed it, all 7 days, without stopping, without questioning, without needing proof. Let me give you the context. 1933. Neville's broke, living in New York, trying to be a dancer, failing. He meets Abdullah, Ethiopian mystic, Kabbalah teacher, lives in a small apartment in Harlem, and Neville asks him, "How do I change my life?" And Abdullah doesn't give him a technique. He gives him an assignment. He says, for 7 nights, before you sleep, you will do one thing, only one thing. You will not pray. You will not visualize. You will not affirm. You will assume. An assumption is not thought. It's not feeling. It's not imagination. It's the state you fall asleep in. And the state you fall asleep in is the state you wake up in. Not tomorrow, but in reality. And reality, Neville, is not out there. It's in here. And in here is where you change it. Before sleep. Every night. 7 nights. Without exception. Neville asks, "What do I assume?" Abdullah says, "That which you desire to be. Not that you will be. That you are. Already. Completely. And you fall asleep in that assumption. And sleep seals it. And 7 days makes it permanent." But most people will not do this. Not because it's hard. Because it's simple. And simplicity terrifies. Because if it's this simple, and you're still where you are, then you've been refusing. And refusal is harder to admit than failure. Now here's the experiment. the actual experiment. As described in Neville's 1948 lecture series and later refined in The Law and the Promise, 1961. 3 rules, non-negotiable. Rule 1. Choose one thing, not multiple desires. Not a list. One thing. The thing you would be if you could be anything. Not the thing you want most. The thing you would be if you were already complete. This is critical. Most people choose based on lack, based on what's missing. But the experiment requires you to choose from completion, from the state of already being. So the question is not, what do I want? The question is, what would I be if I were already whole? And that answer, that state, that's what you assume. Rule 2. Construct a single scene, not a movie, not a story. A moment, a snapshot, a freeze frame of you already being that thing. And the scene must imply fulfillment, must imply that the thing is done. Not happening, done. For example, if you're assuming you're in a specific location, the scene is not you traveling there. The scene is you already there, in bed, in that location, falling asleep there, or receiving a letter from that place, or hearing someone say, "How long have you been here?" And you answering, "I live here now." The scene must imply the end, not the process. The end. Rule 3. Every night before sleep, for 7 consecutive nights, you enter that scene, not through visualization, through assumption. You don't watch yourself in the scene. You become yourself in the scene. First person, seeing through your own eyes, hearing through your own ears, feeling what you would feel if it were real, and you loop that scene over and over until you fall asleep inside it. And falling asleep inside it is the key. Not imagining it and then sleeping, but imagining it until sleep takes you while you're still in it. And sleep, Abdullah said, is the seal, the confirmation, the signature. You're signing the contract with reality every night. 7 nights. Now here's what happens, night by night. And this is where most people quit, because knowing what to expect and experiencing it are not the same. Day 1, you do the scene. It feels awkward, mechanical. You're aware you're imagining, aware it's not real, and doubt creeps in. This is normal. Abdullah told Neville, Day 1 is not about belief. It's about obedience. You're not trying to believe. You're trying to obey. Obey the instruction. Do the scene. Fall asleep in it. Belief comes later. So day 1 is just doing it. Whether you believe or not. Whether it feels real or not. You do it, and you fall asleep. And that's enough. Day 2, you do the scene again. And something strange happens. It feels slightly more natural, less forced. Your mind resists less, but new doubt appears. You think, is this even working? Should something have changed by now? And the answer is, nothing should have changed externally. Not yet. This is internal work. The external conforms later, after the internal is sealed. So day 2 is about continuing despite seeing no evidence. Despite no proof, you do the scene. You fall asleep in it, and you trust nothing. You just do, Day 3. This is where most people quit. Because day 3 is when resistance peaks. Your mind fights back. Shows you all the reasons it won't work. All the evidence it's not real. All the logic that says you're wasting time. And you'll be tempted to stop, to try something else, to add techniques, to check for signs. Don't. Day 3 is the test. The test of whether you can persist without proof, without confirmation, without external validation. Abdullah called this the valley, the lowest point. The point where faith is tested not by belief, but by action. And action is just doing it again, seeing, sleep. That's it. Day 4. If you made it past day 3, day 4 is different, calmer. The resistance softens. The scene starts to feel familiar. Not real yet, but familiar. Like a memory you're remembering instead of a future you're imagining. And this shift, this subtle shift from imagination to memory, is the sign. The sign that assumption is taking hold. That the state is solidifying. You're not there yet, but you're close. And day 4 is about recognizing this without grasping it, without trying to force it. Just noticing and continuing. Day 5. The scene feels real. Not intellectually, emotionally. You fall asleep in it, and for a moment, just before sleep takes you, you forget its imagination. You're just there, in the scene, being it. And when you wake up, there's a subtle knowing, a quiet certainty. Not loud, not dramatic, just, and knowing is different than believing. Believing requires evidence. Knowing doesn't. It just is. And day 5 is when knowing begins. Day 6. You're no longer doing the exercise. The exercise is doing itself. The scene appears automatically when you lie down. You don't have to construct it. Don't have to force it. It's just there, waiting. And you enter it like entering a room you've lived in your whole life. Natural, effortless, familiar, and you fall asleep instantly because there's no resistance. No doubt, no gap between you and the assumption. You are it, and it is you. And sleep confirms it. Day 7, the final night. And here's what Neville never said directly, but implied constantly. Day 7 is not about doing the scene. It's about releasing it. You do the scene one last time, but this time, as you fall asleep, you let it go. You don't hold it. Don't grasp it. Don't try to keep it. You just release. Give it to sleep. Give it to the subconscious. Give it to whatever power takes imagination and makes it real. And you trust that it's done, not that it will be done. That is done. Already. Completely. And you never have to do it again. Because doing it again would imply it's not done. And it is. Now here's what happens after day 7. And this is what Neville called the crossing. Most people expect manifestation. Expect the thing to appear. Expect reality to shift externally. And sometimes it does. Quickly. Within days. But often it doesn't. Not immediately. And this is where people panic. Think it didn't work. Think they did it wrong. But the crossing is not about manifestation. It's about identity. After 7 days of assuming you are something, You become it internally, completely. And once you are it internally, the external has no choice. It must conform, but conforming takes time. Not because the law is slow, but because reality is reshaping itself to match you. And reshaping is not instant. It's gradual. And gradual feels like nothing is happening. But it is, under the surface. In ways you can't see. In ways that will only become visible later. When the external finally catches up to the internal. And when it does, it won't feel like manifestation. It'll feel like, of course, like it was always going to happen this way. Like it was inevitable. And that inevitability is the proof. The proof that you crossed, that you changed states, that you are no longer who you were. But here's the warning. The hidden warning Neville only mentioned in private conversations, never in lectures. The 7-day experiment works, always, without exception. But it works based on the state you assume, not the thing you want. The state you assume. And if you assume a state from lack, from need, from desperation, the experiment will lock you into that state. Not into having the thing, into needing the thing, into being the person who lacks it. And that's the trap. The trap most people fall into. They think they're assuming, I have money, but they're actually assuming, I am someone who needs money. And the experiment seals that, makes it permanent. And they spend years manifesting more need, more lack, more evidence that they don't have it. Because the experiment doesn't care what you want. It cares what you are. And what you are is determined by the state you fall asleep in. Not the words you say, not the images you visualize. The state, the feeling, the being. So how do you correct this? How do you make sure you're assuming from completion instead of lack? Simple. Before you start the experiment, ask yourself, if I already had this thing, what would I be? Not what would I feel. What would I be? And the answer is usually not someone who has the thing. It's someone who is something. Someone confident. Someone free. Someone complete. And that's the state you assume. Not having. Being. And being is not dependent on having. Being is what you are, regardless of what you have. And when you assume being, having follows naturally. But when you assume having, you stay stuck in the state of not having. Because having implies you didn't have. And didn't have is the state. And the state is what gets sealed. Neville figured this out after years of teaching the experiment. He noticed students would do it, complete all 7 days, and nothing would change. Or worse, things would get worse. And he realized they're assuming from the wrong state. They're assuming I will have instead of I am. And I will have is future. And future never comes. It's always future. So he stopped teaching it as a manifestation technique and started teaching it as an identity shift. Not, do this to get something, but do this to become someone. And becoming someone is what changes everything. Not getting something. Here's what you need to remember. 5 things. Write them down. Internalize them before you start. 1. Choose from completion, not from lack. Ask yourself, what would I be if I were already whole? That's your state. 2. Construct a single scene that implies the end, not the journey. The end, already done, already complete. 3. Fall asleep inside the scene every night for 7 consecutive nights. No exceptions, no skipping. No, I'll do it tomorrow. 7 nights, straight. 4. Day 7, release it. Don't hold it. Don't check for it. Don't wait for it. It's done. Move on. 5. After 7 days, forget the technique. Live as the person you assumed you are. Don't go back to imagining. You already are. Act like it. And here's the final thing. The thing Neville said once and never repeated. He said, the experiment is not about changing your reality. It's about realizing you're the one who's been creating it all along. And once you realize that, you stop needing experiments. You stop needing techniques. You just create consciously, deliberately, naturally. And creating consciously is what freedom is. Not getting what you want, being who you are. And being who you are means reality has no choice but to obey. If you made it this far, you're ready, or you're not. And either way is fine. This experiment is not for everyone. It's for the ones who are tired of techniques, tired of trying, tired of seeking, and ready to just be for 7 nights. And see what happens. And what happens is never what you expect, but it's always what you need. And needing is not the same as wanting. Needing is what you require to become who you actually are. Underneath all the trying, all the seeking, all the resistance, you, the real you, the one you've been imagining yourself away from. And this experiment brings you back, not to where you were, but to who you are. Abdullah looked at Neville after those 7 days and said, "You're in Barbados now? You just don't know it yet. But you will, in 3 months. And when you arrive, you'll remember this conversation, and you'll understand. The experiment didn't put you in Barbados. You were always going to Barbados. The experiment just made you the person who goes. And being the person who goes is all that was ever required." 3 months later, Neville was in Barbados. And he never forgot. And he taught this for 40 years. And thousands learned it. But only a few did it. And the ones who did, they stopped needing him. Stopped attending lectures, stopped seeking teachers, not because they became enlightened, but because they became themselves. And themselves is all they ever needed to be. Do this before sleep. 7 nights, 1 scene, 1 state, 1 crossing, and see what you become. Not what you get, what you become. And becoming is the only manifestation that matters. That's it. That's the experiment. You already know what to do. The question is, will you?